Okay, Sefer Ha-Aggadah. We're on the first volume, page 45, and we're talking about the righteous women in Egypt, right? According to the Midrash, last time we spoke, we mentioned 5 women: Shifra and Pu'ah, Yocheved and Miriam, and Bat Paro. But according to the Midrash, there were only 3. There were only 3 because Shifra and Pu'ah are the same women as Yocheved and Miriam. So the midwives, this is what the Midrash says. Vayomer melech Mitzrayim lamyeledot ha'ivriot. The king spoke to the Hebrew midwives. Mi hayom yaledot. Amar Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani, Isha uvita Yocheved uMiriam. They were Yocheved and Miriam. ולא היו למרים אלא 5 שנים, והייתה הולכת עם יוכבד עמה, ועושה צרכיה והייתה זריזה. So they say not only that, Miriam, the 2 midwives that are named Shifra and Pu'ah were actually Yocheved and Miriam, the mother and sister of Moshe. And Miriam was only 5 years old, going with her mother and helping her and doing whatever she needed to do. We don't know in the Torah how much older is Miriam than Moshe. We know that Aaron was 3 years older than him, that we know, but the Torah never says, doesn't give Miriam's age in perspective. It says, "Moshe ben 80 shana, ve'Aaron ben 83 shana, ve'omdam lifnei Paro." When they came to Paro, Moshe was 80, Aaron was 83. We don't know how old was Miriam. It seems from the text that she was maybe 10 or 12 years old when the whole thing happened with the basket in the when they put the basket in the reeds next to the river. But the idea that those are the same people is based on a common trend in the Midrash. The Midrash always tries to clear confusions in the Torah. So if someone is not named, or if someone is named but we don't know much about that person, the Midrash, the rabbis would rather give you more information, so they will say, oh, that person, this person, and that person are one and the same. This way we get rid of characters that we don't know much about, and we beef up our knowledge about others. So for example, if the Torah says there were 2 midwives, Shifra and Pu'ah, and we don't know who they are, and it seems that they did a courageous thing by standing up to Paro, and then we read about the mother and sister of Moshe, Yocheved and Miriam, and again we don't know too much about Yocheved except that she gave birth and took care and hid Moshe for 3 months. So we merge the two characters and we say Yocheved is Shifra and Miriam is Pu'ah. Even though it creates some problems with the commentary, because we have to make Miriam 5 years old to be a midwife helper, which is a little difficult. And also the other problem is that Shifra and Pu'ah have an Egyptian ring to them as far as the Bible is concerned, because most of the Egyptian names that are mentioned in the Torah have the letters Pei, Resh, and Ayin in them somehow. Paro, and then we have here Shifra and Pu'ah, and then later in Divrei Yamim, the name Yarha, Tahpanhes, those are Tzofnat Paneh, the name of Yosef. So, like I said, the Midrash suggests that those are the same people, but the literal meaning of the text is that there were 2 different groups of women. One is the midwives, the other one Yocheved and Miriam. So now, after we speak about that, and we spoke about the how they put the basket right in the reeds next to the Nile, and most probably it was an ambush, meaning it was planned. They knew that Bat Paro, that the princess take this route, and they knew that she will see the basket, and they knew that she was childless, and they assumed that she will want to adopt that child, which happened. But according to the Torah, there was an immediate reaction. There was no question. The moment she saw the basket, what did she do? It says, "Vatishlach et amata vatikaha." She sent her maidservant to fetch the teva. This is the what the Torah says. The word ama, everywhere in the Torah, ama means when in connection to a person, like one has an amma, means one has a maidservant. This is the meaning of the pasuk. Why is it important to know that? Because there's another meaning for the word amma in Hebrew, and that is arm. It's also a length measure, cubit. But the nikud, the vowels and the pronunciation is different. When we speak about amma as a maidservant, there is kamat under the aleph and kamat under the mem. And when we speak of amma as a maidservant, there's a patah under the aleph and kamat under the mem, but also a dot, a dagesh in the mem. So you say amma for servant, but amma with the double mem for the measurement. And also the Torah never says ammati, my servant, or his servant, but rather shifhati. There's another word for that, and the word amma is only used to describe the measurements of the Mishkan and of the tabernacle. Why is it important to know that? Because the Midrash takes the pasuk out of the literal meaning, whereas the pasuk says she sent her maid servant and fetched the teva. The Midrash says she sent her hand and fetched the teva. Right? Now, why do you have to say that she sent her hand? The one opinion of Midrash says that the teva was far from her. She had to go out of her way to take it. And she asked one of her maidservants, to bring the teva. And the Midrash says the following, כיוון שראו אמהותיה שביקשה להציל את משה, אמרו לה גבירתנו מנהגו של העולם, מלך גוזר גזירה, אם כל העולם כולו אין מקיימים אותה, בניו ובני ביתו מקיימים אותה, ואת עוברת על גזירת אביך. So the maidservants start arguing with the Bat Paro. Even before they open the basket, when she says, go get me the basket, they refuse. Why? Because they know that they hear the baby crying. We assume that. I mean, it doesn't say that, but we assume that they figured out that there was a baby in the basket. The baby is crying, and who would abandon a baby in the reeds? Only the Jews, only the Hebrews. So they say to her, you are asking us to betray your father's decree, to breach your father's decree. But the Midrash makes their speech even more elaborate. They say, when a king makes a decree, if the subjects, if the people don't keep up with the decree, at least the family of the king, his household, should keep it. So you're the daughter of the king, you're going to go against your father? So with this Midrash, they are the exact opposite of the midwives. Because the midwives, even though they are subjects and they are under the threat of being killed by Paro, say we're not going to follow his word. In this case, the maidservants are defying the princess, saying, you must listen to your father. So we have two completely opposed views of what those people are saying. What happened as a result? The Midrash says, Miyad ba Gavriel v'havatan b'karka. And then the angel Gabriel came and havatan b'karka means that he made them all fall to the ground and die. So all the maidservants now, Bat Paro is surrounded by an array of dead bodies, right? That used to be her maidservants. So how does she take the teva? Bialik and Robnitsky, who edited this book, didn't put the end of the Midrash. Maybe they felt it was too fantastic. But the original Midrash says that her arm extended, stretched out, and she was able to fetch the teva and bring it over. Right? Why would you come with... it's a nice Midrash, and they teach it in elementary schools. I remember like clockwork. Each one of my children who went to school and got, to second grade, first grade, or sometimes in kindergarten, when they got to the story of Paro and the princess and Moshe, they would come back with that detail. The teacher said that the princess's arm extended and she was able to get the basket, right? But their response was not always the same. Some of the cases, it's one. or not only my children, all children that I spoke with, or parents about this, some said, "Oh, this is a nice story. That's a cute thing. It's like superheroes, like Elastigirl in one of the one of the comic books or the movies that could stretch her arm wherever she wants. Rubber Man, right? Something like that." But others said, "Where is this coming from? Why? I mean, if God performed such a miracle for the Pharaoh's daughter, and with that she was able to save Moshe, isn't it worth to be mentioned in the Torah? If the Torah writes that Moshe hit the rock and water came out, and that is splitting the rock, inanimate object, to let the water come out. Isn't it miraculous that a hand can extend, because you have to defy the laws of nature, the laws of the body, the physical laws, how are the bones changing, so what's happening inside? You have to write it down. You have to say, there was a tremendous miracle, and her arms extended in order to bring the teva. So obviously, like we said in Amidashi, in other cases, this is not the pshat. It's not in the Torah, and I doubt it that the person who authored the Midrash, the one who wrote this specific piece, believed in it, but rather he wrote it as a message to people. It's a common theme that repeats again and again and again, which is empowerment of Jews in diaspora, or in Israel, but under the heel of the Romans. You live without autonomy, without your own government. You depend on the mercy of the government, of people who are usually against you. So who could you rely on? So here the situation is described exactly like that, with the daughter of Pharaoh. She's a princess, and she cares about the helpless. In this case, the Hebrews, and later on will be the Jews. So it's like saying, you have a friend in high places. That's the daughter of the king. She might want to help you, but she has opposition. Who's the opposition? Her own servants and counselors. But don't worry. Here there will be divine intervention, and God will get rid of them, and God will help her miraculously extend her arm and save you. Right? All this sounds far-fetched, but there were situations in the 2-3 first centuries of after the Churban, where Jews really needed the help of Roman nobility who cared about Jews, and they relied on it. And this exact story, I mean, not exact story, but the concept of the story, that you have a friend who's a nobleman or a prince and would care about you, even at great risk. This did happen. There were several stories in the Talmud, and they are corroborated from outside sources, that the rabbis and Rabbi Akiva leading the effort were able to convert many Roman noblemen and women to Judaism, and they became sort of the advocates of the Jews. In one instance, this is we don't know the exact details, but it seems like that the law in the Roman Senate was that if a law or a decree, right, was on the floor, was meaning under process, and one of the senators died, this proposition, this law would be abandoned. That would never be imposed. The discussion would stop. So there is a case mentioned in our sources, and again corroborated by outside sources, that in a different language, that there was an anti-Jewish measure being discussed in the Roman Senate, and one of the senators committed suicide because because that's the only way he was able to stop the process to stop the decree against the Jews. So he committed suicide, and as a result, they had to stop it and to recall that specific measure. And he did it because he was sort of like you would call today a crypto Jew, someone who kept the appearance of a Roman nobleman, but was still believed in monotheism and practiced Judaism privately. So an interesting analogy between him and Bat Paro, even though in the case of Bat Paro, she's still alive, but here's the person who's almost royalty, and he's our friend, and he wants to extend his arm and save us, but the counselors don't let him do that. So that I think is an interesting comparison between or maybe the background of the Midrash. Why did the Midrash come up with the story of Bat Paro when in this miraculous intervention? Okay, we'll stop here and we'll continue tomorrow.